What's going on? It's Will coming to you another day with another video. I want to do a review on a bike ride that I did which was a group ride. But before we get into that, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We'll be gladly appreciated. And without further ado, let's just jump right on into this video. This was an experience in which it was my first group ride on this 56 Sram Red chainring, and I've been managing to be able to do okay with it by myself, but it proved to be an issue on this ride, and I didn't really realize how much of an issue it is until I was doing this ride. These guys, this is the last part of the ride. We made it to our destination. A few guys branched off, had to get back, and they only went a certain portion of this ride. This ended up being a 100-mile ride for me. In the end, it was a 62, I believe, mile ride for the group. A lot of guys only did the 62 miles, but we're leaving from the water stop, and I didn't realize that the chain slipped into the lower chain ring, the 43, so I'm only maxing out, I think, at 31 maybe is as fast as I hit, and you can see the distance just becoming apparent. And eventually I catch up to him and let him know I need to stop because it's in the lower chain ring, so when we get to a stop sign, can we stop, please? But throughout this ride, most of these guys have the standard SRAM or the standard Shimano, and yeah, I felt it on every single incline we had because they were maintaining. Yeah, so I do get up to 32 miles. So, and I'm spinning out. I'm spinning as fast as I could spin. I think I was doing like 120 RP cadence on that, which, yeah, it sucked. And we were in the wind. The wind was, we had a tailwind, so it was cool, but I knew I wasn't gonna be able to keep that the whole time. So yeah, every single incline, I felt it. There was no doubt about it, because the issue with this SRAM chainring is if I shift down too many times, I'm gonna have an issue. So I can't shift down too many times with this Sram Red, because what'll happen is it'll shift down maybe about 3 times, and that's it. It's gonna be stuck. So I just generally didn't take that chance at all during this ride, but somehow or another, my chain popped on a few instances. It just popped off into the lower one without me even shifting it. So it ended up doing that at some point during the right before we got to the destination, and yeah, it sucked. So basically the whole time I tried to stay in the big chain ring, and I paid the price because I totally forgot to take that cassette off that I had on, which was the 1028, which I should have put on my 1036 or 1033. But even if I would have switched on to that, it still wouldn't have made a difference, because I noticed when I went down all the way to the 28, I still lost. I lost the speed because I was still in that chain ring. So how I ride, how I've learned to ride, is when I do incline, I'll instantly shift down, which is why I love the electronic group set. It made it a benefit. So I'll shift down to the smaller chain ring, and I'll click up two on the cassette. So it's basically, it's a lighter load for me, but I keep that same speed. So I've learned to do that in this last year and a half or so, and it allows me to stay right there. Well, unfortunately, my body showed that it wasn't going to really be able to hang this whole entire ride, considering the fact that I had worked all week, and we did a lot of work for this company, and it was a lot of walking and a lot of pushing and setting up gear. So, and on top of it, I really I really noticed the difference between me riding to work every day and me having to drive to work every day. So the first day of at work, well, it took me an hour and a half to get to a certain section, and I wasn't even halfway of that ride, which it was 100 miles each way. So it took me half the distance to get to halfway. It took me an hour and 30 to get half the distance of where I needed to go, which was also the same distance that it takes for me to ride that same way to get to work if I'm riding from my house until that spot. So the week sucked as far as traffic, which is why I love riding, because when I ride, it's like my body feels totally different. It feels totally different when I work as opposed to driving. So I felt completely terrible that whole week in working. It was like I was completely drained. And I can understand why people are drained when they work and they had to commute and travel. My body does not feel the same way when I ride to work. It does not at all. And it sucks. So of course here, this ride was actually excellent for what it was, because I was technically supposed to be at work that day, and the head people came in and was like, you know what, we're not going to need you guys tomorrow, but don't worry about it. You guys are all paid for the day. So I was actually going to stay home this day, and then I was like, you know what, I'll go out and ride with the group, even though I wasn't going to be there, and yeah, I'll get paid to ride today. So that's what I did. So yeah, my man's here, Rick, didn't really know what was going on, was telling me to stay in. And yeah, I guess, I don't know what made them think that I normally can't keep up with them, because I have been able to. It's like I said, it's just that chain ring. This was my first group ride on that 56, and it sucked. It sucked. So yeah, he goes up front to tell them that I'm gonna need to stop. So yeah, eventually we're gonna stop up here. There's a stop sign coming. I don't know if it was tracks. I don't think it was. You know what? Yeah, it is tracks. That looks like them off to the right. So yeah. Should I fast forward this? I don't know. This was actually a nice sized group. Oh, also, yeah, this guy who's in the shot, he's on an e-bike, and I believe that guy in the pink up there is on an e-bike too. So the guy in the pink was leading the way. This guy here, right here with the cow-looking print, that's Bill Champion, one of the local legends around here. Man's a monster. I think he builds in his 60s. That man is a beast. No two ways about it, man. That when he shows up on the group rides, it's like everyone instantly knows, oh man, here's Bill. He's gonna push the heck out of us, and we're all gonna be dog tired. Man, Bill's a machine. Bill's a flat out machine. So yeah, here we are. We're finna get ready and stop. And I don't know, I must have been totally fried, because I have no idea what the heck I was thinking, which was why this video is titled Spoke Too Soon. I don't know what I was thinking, because maybe I was thinking that we did a bulk of the inclines going in, and then I don't know if I was thinking, because we had to win most of this ride back, that I was just going to be perfectly fine. And I wasn't thinking that because that segment part was so easy that's coming up, that it was going to be like that the rest of the ride. I totally should not have thought that. But I don't know what I was thinking. So yeah, I explained to them what happened right here. They thought my Sram battery died. Rick was trying to offer me his battery, even though I had multiple batteries in my hydration pack. So it wasn't a battery issue. It was just I had to stop that quick to get off the bike, to pull the chain ring up, because I tried to do that because I think I seen a video of someone doing that, pulling it in, and I could not do it. I just could not do it. So I knew I had to get off the bike. So at this point, we're gonna pick up the pace a little bit. I think we stay around 18, maybe 21 or something like that. And we have the win. So it was, for me, it was like, man, this is way too easy. Especially after I didn't just change from that 43. So hitting the 56, it was just like too easy. Plus, Rick had said we're gonna crank it up. So I was like, all right, well, what the heck are we doing? And we hit this pocket. So yeah, I guess Rick's gonna tell me to move up, get into right behind one of the riders here, and I was gonna do that regardless, but I don't know. I guess I was trying to get a feel. On top of it, the guy who's in, you can see in the rear camera, he was at the back majority of the ride, so he said he had the route. I don't know. It's still, part of me is like, because these are group rides, and I've heard a lot of bickering about, you know, it getting too fast, and it's just supposed to be fun, in which this ride was touted to be the same way. Part of me didn't want to jump at the front at this portion, but the other part of me did, because towards the beginning of this ride I was at the front. So and then I ended up like falling back a little bit, but we get in this groove. Yeah, so we're at 23, 24, and at this point it's comfortable. It's a bit easy. It's a bit too easy, and to my liking, to be honest. After doing, yeah, you saw at the beginning, the 30 miles on the 43. So we're flowing, and eventually I go up towards the front. And for most of this ride, Bill Champion and the guy that was in the pink, those two were both leading the pack, predominantly the whole ride. So towards this portion, Bill kind of takes a little backseat a little bit. So I believe we're coming up on the part where I decided to overtake and ask them, all right, so what are we doing? Because I kind of felt like at this point we could hit anywhere from 27, 20, 28, 29. That's what I thought, because it was just so easy. I think I was maybe doing 100, anywhere from 100 to 150 watts. And of course, I'm still freshly new, so it's like that's still good for the wind and the speed that we're doing. But I knew this was more of the upper echelon of guys around here, so I wanted to test where I was as well. So eventually, I believe I get next to a man on the trek who's right next to Rick in the blue, which is Greg, and I asked the question, and then I send it. I've been watching too much EJ's training. him in North Cal cycling. I've been watching too many of their videos. So yeah, here we go. I think Bill had an idea though, because he started picking up the pace. I think it's right after this tree I see. It's either that tree or this one coming up. So I get like directly on the side of it. Yeah, it's right here. Because I'm starting to get ready to go past. And here we go. I didn't realize that they didn't like really fall behind me. Because normally when that happens, when a guy does that, they all pick up the pace. But then it wasn't until when it posted, I realized what actually transpired here. So I had no clue that we were coming up in this section, that it was a segment. So because of me sending it and taking off, and you can see this, it's starting to get to be a nice gap. And I ended up slowing down. Like, well, are they really? I didn't know what to think, to be perfectly honest. But it wasn't until I guess they got to the section where they knew where the KOM and the segment was, is where they decided to start going. And unbeknownst to me, it's gonna come up to where they passed it. Like when the guy says, "See ya," my mind was like, "Huh? What?" I was thinking, all right, we're gonna slow down together, or possibly end up together because there was a car coming, and it's coming up sometime not long after this curve. It's coming up, and after this curve, I was like, well, maybe I should actually just pedal a little faster, because it still was easy. It was still easy for me. It was like too easy. I couldn't believe how easy it was with me just being by myself. It was easier here than it was with them, which was crazy. So, yeah, I'm like, I saw them back there, so I slowed up a bit. And then I ended up picking it up just a little bit to see if they were actually going to go faster. Because I noticed that the distance they started catching up. I'm like, all right, well, maybe they'll go faster. They did. I just did realize that this was a segment. I did not realize this was a segment at all. And it sucks because you guys will see why they just, once they sent it and there was a current events that transpired, they practically dropped me until they stopped at a certain point. And then I felt bad because there were 3 individuals behind me. So I'm like, man, they're probably eating it, and yeah, this is all my fault. So yeah, I noticed they started to get a little closer, so I'm like, all right, cool. Well, we'll probably keep this pace. I'm thinking the paces which I wanted to keep, which was about 28, 29. I wanted to see how well and how long I could keep that pace at 28, 29. So we're getting ready to come up close on this intersection, and I can see from a distance that there's a car, because when I know an intersection's coming, I'm always looking as far as I can look left and as far as I can look right. So there's a car that's coming, and clearly the segment is right at that point. This is where the guy says, "See ya." And I'm like, huh? I'm thinking to myself, like, what? Wait a minute. Bill takes off in a little slight sprint. They go right past me, and then I'm as you can see, I'm hitting 37. So I'm like, all right, cool. I think I can hit 40. I think I can hit 40, 41. I've done it before. So I'm like, all right, cool. She went past me. All right, let me kick it into gear. So when I get on the other side of her, I can see it's a car coming. I can see that far down. I'm fortunate enough to have really good eyes. But then I notice, here it comes. The dog right here runs out, and I can see the dog. And I'm like, oh, crap. So I didn't know what to think because the dog is still running. I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, yeah. The dog pretty much killed any momentum that I was finna try to build up to hit, because I was literally getting ready to go. I looked down and I said, all right, I'm at 37. I knew I was at 37 miles per hour. I'm like, I think I can crank up another 40, 42. I think the max on anything like that I've ever done was like 43. That it wasn't with wind and it was no decline. The most I've ever done was 43 with wind. So I knew I was feeling good at that point. Like, I know I can get that 43. I know I can get that 43. And if I can get that 43, I think they're doing the same thing I'm doing, about 36, 37, which when I looked on Strava, that's what they were doing. So I'm like, I'm not giving that much power. So I'm like, I know I can do it. But when that dog came, that was it. And from that moment, I was like, man, I spoke too soon. But I had no idea that they were going to get that segment, in which they did. 2 of the guys got a KOM. And then at this point, I'm like, I didn't want to even go any further, even though you can't even barely see them. But when you look at my rear camera, you can't see the 3 that I left back there either. So it's like, it probably was about the same distance between them and the distance between the ones that were behind me. So at that point, I'm like, man, I kind of feel bad. I can see them in this curve up there. That's how far they are. I'm like, I think I'm gonna stick at this 30, 31 for a while. Maybe 28, 29. I'm like, ain't no point anymore, because once they had that momentum and got past that dog, that was it. They had the group, and I had the solo. I'm like, forget it. I learned from that one though, but it was funny. It was definitely funny. It was even more funny when I realized that they got that KOM, and they knew that segment was there. And based upon how many times I looked to see how many times that they had did that, and then some of them that had the records, and then you could see it was from another group ride that they done, because a few of them were like paired together in that top 10 or whatever. I'm like, okay, yeah, they know this segment's here, and I had no idea. So, yeah, I learned from this one. I definitely learned from this one, which was a good, I guess you could say, race type preparation, even though I've never done a race, and I don't think we've ever done a group ride to where it turned out like this. Although I wish I had known that was a segment, because I wouldn't have stopped. If I knew that was a segment right there, I wouldn't have stopped, and I would have loved to have seen what that would have been like, especially on video, and then just to dissect it, to try to keep improving, because I love this right here, man. It's fun, man. It's definitely fun. It's definitely beautiful when you're out here, especially on roads like this, and you see the skyline and everything, and how the colors contrast, like with your own eye. That's not even editing any video or anything like that. It's just looking at that stuff in real time, man. It brings a sense of calmness and a sense of peace when you get to ride in atmospheres like that. But this was definitely a learning curve. It was definitely a learning curve. I wish the SRAM 56 chainring was perfectly fine, and it would really tell me where I really am. It's definitely going to make me stronger if I keep riding this crap, even though it doesn't do what I want it's supposed to do, which sucks. Terrible on SRAM, unfortunately, and I love SRAM more than my Shimano, but this 56 just makes just a bad taste for SRAM. Yeah, that power meter is like 1,200 to 1,500, depending on where you buy it from, and it's trash. It ain't even worth it, because they're selling it for two chain rings that's on it, 56 and a 43, and you can only use it technically for one or the other. You're not gonna be able to shift up or down, which is a bunch of crap. Yeah, so during that whole time at the beginning of when you're seeing me doing the 30 before we stop, I'm playing with it, going back and forth, because sometimes what it'll do is if you go up and go all the way down and then try to shift back up and shift back down, it may catch. It wouldn't do none of that. I kept trying that crap, which is why at certain points in that beginning, the speed was fluctuating up and down, was because I was trying to change it to see if it was going to catch or not. Mess is trash. With that being said, man, I'm done talking. This definitely was a lesson learned. Hit that like, share, subscribe button. Gladly appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, and finish out the rest of this video.